In this video, we are going to talk about Jasmy, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Jasmy to go in the next few days and weeks. So a look at the weekly chart, and what we can see right here is that Jasmy is in a very clear downtrend. Basically, since December of 2024, it has gotten some slight rallies here and there, but it is in a very strong downtrend with no major highs anytime recently. And in the last few weeks, back in December, we've seen it get a slight recovery from the support area that used to be resistance actually back in 2023, but the recovery did not sustain, and after just a couple of weeks it continued dumping and created another lower low. In the last few days it has actually been recovering slightly. It is now right in between these resistance and support areas. There was this resistance area that it got a bit of support from a few weeks ago, and then just a bit below it, closer to where it is at right now, there is a support area. As you can see, Jasmy got a very significant rally from it back in January of 2024, as well as a smaller rally back in March of 2023. So it is definitely possible for Jasmy to get some support from here, but as long as Jasmy is continuing the downtrend, it does not seem very likely to me that this rally will be significant or sustainable. I think that it's still more likely that Jasmy will just continue its downtrend, perhaps approaching this next support area from back in 2023 at 0.003. This would be a dump of about 50% from where Jasmy is at right now. But honestly, for such a small market cap altcoin, a dump of 50% is not that insane, and it could happen in quite a short amount of time. What would change my outlook on Jasmy is if it actually starts getting a rally and crosses this local high from January. If it does get above, let's say, 1 cent, then that would be the first sign of a potential trend reversal. But until that happens, I am not very hopeful about Jasmy, and I think that it's more likely that it will just continue dumping. If it does cross this local high, it could actually lead to a very explosive rally, because it is sort of creating a double bottom right here, and it is also from a very similar level to where Jasmy got a very significant rally back in 2024. And another factor is that I think that it is pretty likely that Bitcoin will get a significant relief rally sometime relatively soon. Bitcoin has dropped all the way from 125k to about 60k in a pretty short amount of time, in just a few months, and it does seem pretty likely that Bitcoin will eventually get a significant relief rally sometime pretty soon. So if that does happen pretty soon and Jasmy can get a rally following it and crosses this local high, all of these factors that I've mentioned combined could actually lead to a very explosive rally by Jasmy. But with how good that sounds, at the moment, this is still very speculative, and it still seems pretty unlikely in my opinion. A lot of things need to work at the same time for this to actually play out. So this is not financial advice whatsoever, but at the moment I would still avoid getting into Jasmy. In general, I would also avoid being too heavy into altcoins. I think that some altcoins do have a chance of outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum for sure if Bitcoin does get a relief rally, but I still think that since Bitcoin is the leader of the market, we would first need to see Bitcoin doing quite well before the rest of the altcoin market can follow it, and I think that a true alt season is still very unlikely. So I would mostly stick to the larger coins, mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I would still be open to getting into some altcoins in small amounts, at least the altcoins that seem to have a good setup and structure. Jasmy could be one of them if it does cross the 1 cent mark, but at the moment it is not looking that way, and it is still in a very clear downtrend. So as I said, I would avoid Jasmy at the moment, but it does have a pretty good opportunity in the future potentially. I have briefly mentioned this support area from back in 2023. It was actually also a support area all the way back in 2022. This does seem to be a pretty significant support area. This is basically the all-time low for Jasmy at around 0.003. If Jasmy does get all the way down there, which does seem pretty likely in my opinion, sometime in the next few months, if it does get down there and starts reacting to it, then it could actually lead to a very significant rally in my opinion as well. This would be the second scenario where a significant rally for Jasmy is possible, other than the one I've talked about before, if it crosses the 1 cent area. But even then, it would definitely not be guaranteed whatsoever, especially if Bitcoin will not do that well when that happens. If Bitcoin just continues its bear market throughout 2026 and goes even lower than 60k, then Jasmy could very possibly just continue dumping and create new all-time lows. It's definitely not out of the question, and I think that it is pretty likely that Jasmy will at least get down to this area sometime in 2026. So yeah guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about Jasmy as well as other altcoins, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.